Hello friends, welcome to Manu Law Classes. I am Gautam Dikshit, subject matter expert GK and current affairs. Today in this video I am bringing to you the most important current affairs of past 1 week from 19 June to 25th June 2021. Some of the topic which we are going to discuss today is Delimitation Commission. We will see the Delimitation Commission. Then we will see Article 164(4) of the Indian Constitution. Then we are going to look at the Financial Action Task Force, what it is, what are the different types of lists in the Financial Action Task Force, and what is the function of the Financial Action Task Force, which you are reading in the newspaper related to Pakistan. Then we are going to read about the Competition Commission of India. We will see that why it was established, when it was established, and what are its objective, and why the present tussle with Google is going on, what is that issue. And then we will study about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and also we will look at the importance of the Central Asian countries and why they are important for regional powers like India, China, Russia, and even the United States. And at last we will see the new e-commerce rules promulgated by the Indian government under the Consumer Protection Act. So let's start the topic. So friends, we at the Manu Law Classes, we have already launched our 1 year and 2 year course. You can enroll today itself at 9971444054, 9971444054. You can call in at this number. You can get all the informations related to 1 year and 2 year course. Don't wait for the lockdown to get over, because exam waits for nobody. The timing for the next year exams are going to be near about the same. So enroll today itself, and new batches are available. You can visit us as lawentranceindia.com for getting more information about the 1 year and 2 year CLAT courses. We at Manu Law Classes, for your benefit, we have started a unique concept called as a 15-day free trial. What are the benefits of this 15-day free trial? You will have access to live classes with one-to-one interaction with our faculties. Then you will also have access to recorded conceptual lectures on various topics, topic test, sectional text, and your performance analysis in both these tests. Now how to sign up for the free trial is very easy. Go into the description box down. You will find the link in the description box, and then locate the sign up, and then sign up for the 15 days free trial. For that, fill the form, and after filling the form, you are set to access our 15-day free trial program. So please friend, take the benefit of this 15-day free trial. Now let's start with the topic. The first is the Delimitation Commission. Now the Delimitation Commission. So what is the basic philosophy? ये basic philosophy क्या है Delimitation Commission का? तो मैं आपको एक शॉर्ट में समझाता हूँ कि India has followed a particular model of democracy which is called as representative democracy. इसको हम क्या कहते हैं? Representative democracy. Representative democracy में क्या होता है? That people, they elect the representatives who represent them in the parliament. Okay, so इस प्रिंसिपल को फॉलो करने के लिए, डेमोक्रेसी को अच्छे से फॉलो करने के लिए जो एक प्रिंसिपल हम अप्लाई करते हैं वो होता है वन वोट वन वैल्यू. वन वोट वन वैल्यू. अब ये वन वोट वन वैल्यू का मतलब कि एक इंसान का वोट का वैल्यू एक ही होना चाहिए. एक इंसान का वोट का वैल्यू किसी दूसरे पर्सन के वैल्यू ऑफ वोट से ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. ओके, इसका मतलब ये है कि वी हैव टू डिवाइड आवर कंट्री इन सच अ वे दैट एवरी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी इन इंडिया हैज़ नियरली और रफली सेम पॉपुलेशन. गॉट इट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ़ यू विल सी इंडिया, द पॉपुलेशन इन इंडिया इज़ डाइवर्स. कोई कोई एरिया में डेंसिटी बहुत ज़्यादा है, किसी किसी एरिया में डेंसिटी बहुत कम है. देयर आर मैनी डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स which have very less population, there are many districts which have very high population. तो अब क्या होता है कि हमारे जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज हैं वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट के मॉडल को फॉलो नहीं कर सकते. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि द पर्टिकुलर डिस्ट्रिक्ट विल बी द बेसिस फॉर द इलेक्टोरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज. इलेक्टोरल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी मीन्स वो एरिया जहाँ के लोग एक पर्टिकुलर रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को चूज करने के लिए वोट करते हैं. Got it? So what happens that we have to मेक अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी विच रफली हैज़ द इक्वल पॉपुलेशन. तो कभी कभी हो सकता है कि एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में एक से ज़्यादा कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी हो, कभी कभी ये भी हो सकता है कि एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में एक से ज़्यादा डिस्ट्रिक्ट हो. तो ये कौन डिसाइड करता है कि किस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी का एरिया कितना होना चाहिए, और उसको हर सेंसस के बाद चेंज करते रहना चाहिए. दैट इज़ डिसाइडेड बाय द डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन. अब सेकेंड क्वेश्चन जो आपके दिमाग में आ रहा होगा कि that is delimitation commission like an election commission is a constitutional body. So no my friend, delimitation commission, they are established under the parliamentary act. The parliament is empowered to pass an act and to set up a delimitation commission for carrying out the process of delimiting the electoral constituency. delimitation अब क्या होता है, इसको हम एक फॉर्मल लैंग्वेज में समझते हैं. That delimitation is the process of fixing the geographical boundary, okay, geographical boundary of electoral constituency. इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या होता है, इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव है जो डेमोक्रेसी का बहुत ही फंडामेंटल ऑब्जेक्टिव है या बहुत ही फंडामेंटल फंक्शन है डेमोक्रेसी का. द ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू इम्प्लीमेंट दी वन वोट वन वैल्यू प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इलेक्टोरल डेमोक्रेसी. गॉट इट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल देर आर मैनी मेथड्स ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी और देर आर मैनी मेथड्स ऑफ इलेक्शन जो पहले फॉलो किया जाता था. दैट इफ समबडी इज रिच द वोट of that person will be higher in weightage as compared to the poor. But since after 1947 India is a democratic country, so here whether you are rich or whether you are poor, every vote will have single value. Now we will see when was the first delimitation commission was established. So it was established just after 1950, just before the first general election of 1952. So for having the election in 1952, so the first delimitation exercise was carried out in 1951-52. उसके बाद कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में अगर हम देखेंगे, so article 82 says that after every census we have to carry out the delimitation process. Okay, so you will see that first delimitation was completed in 1952, second delimitation was completed in 1963, third delimitation was completed in 1973, but that fourth delimitation was conducted in 2002. So from 1973 to 2002 हमने कोई भी delimitation को किसी भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी को डिलिमिट नहीं किया था. तो इसके पीछे का क्या रीज़न हो सकता है, तो इसके पीछे का एक रीज़न जो है वो हम आगे के स्लाइड में देखते हैं, वो भी हम आप समझेंगे. सो सी व्हाट इज द कंपोजिशन ऑफ द delimitation commission. So the composition is retired Supreme Court judge, the Chief Election Commissioner of India, then the State Election Commissioners of respective state. For example, if there is a state X जहाँ पे delimitation carry out करना है, so the Chief State Election Commissioner of this state will also be the member of delimitation commission. इसके functions क्या होते हैं? The function is to determine the geographical boundaries of electoral constituencies. जो मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया कि इसका एक basic principle होता है that each constituency should have roughly equal population. Okay. Second, हमारे यहाँ पे after 1947 we gave away with the practice of separate electorate. We gave away with the practice of separate electorate. हम अब separate electorate नहीं follow करते. Okay, we don't follow it. Fine. We follow reservations. So certain seats for SCs and STs are reserved in the states. Okay, और ये जो reserved seats होते हैं ये कोई भी seat permanently reserved नहीं होता. They go in rotation. For example, if there are 40 seats, out of that 10 seats are reserved. Suppose there is a state where 40 seats are there for Lok Sabha, 10 seats are reserved. Okay, so 10 constituencies will be identified which will be reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. बट हमेशा के लिए उसी वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी रिजर्व नहीं होगी, वो रोटेशन में होगी. कि फॉर टुडे सपोज इफ ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी इज रिजर्व, आफ्टर 10 years इट कैन बी दैट बी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी विल बी रिजर्व फॉर scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Now we will discuss about Article 82. So Article 82 says that upon the completion of each census, the allocation of seats in the House of People. House of People का मतलब लोक सभा. Okay, so for example if there is 550 seats in Lok Sabha, तो ये लोक सभा के seats based on the population ये different states में divided है. Okay, so the delimitation commission का यहाँ पे दो function है. पहले it will decide that how many seats will go to particular state. Got it? So for example if UP has got 80 seats, sorry, fine. So this will be decided that UP will get 80 seats, Maharashtra will get 40 seats. Like this the numbers will be decided. एक बार ये 80 seats decide हो गया, फिर यूपी में कितने constituencies होंगे. It means that how this 80 seats will be divided in UP. Okay, that second function. So these are the two functions. First, division of Lok Sabha seats among the states and division of that seat among the constituencies in the state. Both of them shall be readjusted by such authority and manner provided by the parliament by law. Got it? And Article 70 deals with the readjustment of constituencies for state legislative assemblies. Okay, so this is the process of delimitation provided in our constitution. Now we will see that why after 1971 census the delimitation को carry क्यों नहीं किया गया. So friends, the 42nd amendment to the constitution, it provided for the delimitation of Lok Sabha seats based on 1971 census, okay, to be extended till 2000. ये assume किया गया कि that by 2000 every state in India must have achieved a stable population, but it was seen that India needs, some states needs more time. Then जो freeze हुआ था 1971 census के basis पे 2000 तक, it was extended till 2006 by the 84th Amendment Act to the Constitution. But there was one additional condition in this, that the distribution of seats among the state that was freezed, but within the state the constituencies can be rearranged. So see, however, the rationalization of constituencies in state was to be carried out based on the 2001 census. For example, UP has got 80 seats and Maharashtra has got 40 seats, for example. So UP will retain its 80 seats, Maharashtra will retain its 40 seats, but ये 40 seats महाराष्ट्र में किस तरीके से डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हुए हैं वो चेंज हो सकता है. Okay, that was provided by 87th Amendment Act. Okay, now we will take a question that Article 164(4) of the Constitution provides for which of the following? A is appointment of the governor of the state, appointment to the State Election Commission, salaries and allowances of the Council of Ministers, power and privileges of the State Council of Ministers, and E is none of the above. Article 164(4). So answer is E, none of the above. E, none of the above. So see what is the explanation. Article 164(4) provides that a minister who for any period of 6 consecutive months is not a member of the legislature of the state shall at the expiration of that period cease to be a minister. ये एक इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में बहुत ही यूनिक कॉन्सेप्ट है, that any person can become the minister. Fine. The only requirement is that within 6 months that person should get elected to any of the house. Okay, if that person is an union minister, then within 6 months that person has to get himself or herself elected either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Second is that if that person is from state legislative, if that person is state minister, then that person has to get elected within 6 months in the state legislative assembly, and if the legislative council exists in the state, then in the legislative council. Okay, fine. And the second thing, a very unique concept of the Indian constitution is that anybody can become minister, okay, irrespective of the house. Okay, so if anybody is the member of Rajya Sabha, then also they can become minister. If anybody is the member of legislative council, then also they can become the minister. But that such concept is not provided in the British Parliament. In the British Parliament, all the ministers should belong to the lower house. Now why we are discussing this? Okay, so there is a case going on in Uttarakhand. The newly appointed chief minister of Uttarakhand, Tirath Singh Rawat, okay, now he was appointed, but he is not the member of lower house in Uttarakhand. He is not the member of state legislative assembly, but in Uttarakhand there is no legislative council also. But that the Tirath Singh Rawat, Shri Tirath Singh Rawat, his 6 month is coming to end in August. So by that time he has to get himself elected. But if doesn't get himself elected, then he has to give up the chief ministership post. So now can he remain the minister without getting elected even after 6 months? Okay, so for that the election should take place. The by-election should take place in Uttarakhand. But what is happening over here, due to COVID-19, the by-elections cannot be held right now. Fine. So but there are two other provisions which are provided under section 151A of the Representation of the People Act 1951, which puts additional condition for by-election. कि बाई इलेक्शन हो तो सकता है, बट देर आर अदर टू कंडीशंस फॉर बाई इलेक्शन. द थिंग इज that if the term of the member in relation to vacancy is less than 1 year, for example that if that member wants to become the member of the state legislative assembly and state legislative assembly का सिर्फ 5 साल पूरा होने वाला है, 1 साल के अंदर ही 5 साल will be completed and again the general election will be held. In such case by elections will not be held. Second, the election commission certifies that it is difficult to hold the by election within the said period. So now what is happening with Uttarakhand legislative assembly? Okay, that soon they are going to remainder term of the state legislative assembly is going to end. Okay, so that's why there is another problem for holding the by elections. So the by elections, there are two problems. One, that within 6 months he has to get elected, but due to COVID-19 the by elections has not been held. Second is that if less than 1 year is remaining of the state legislative assembly term, then the by elections are not held under the People Representation Act 1951. Now coming to the next topic, Financial Action Task Force. It was in news related to Pakistan and it is going to be in news for coming days also. So here we are going to look at the Financial Action Task Force. So it is an intergovernmental body which was founded in 1989. It is backed by G7. Okay. Now what are the two major objectives of Financial Action Task Force? First is to combat money laundering. Okay. तो पहले तो सिर्फ यही एक ऑब्जेक्टिव था, टू कॉम्बैट मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग, बट आफ्टर द अटैक ऑन द वर्ल्ड ट्रेड सेंटर इन अमेरिका इन द यूएसए, second objective was added in 2001, that is to combat terror financing. Okay, terror financing is one of the major problem which the whole world is right now comprehending. If there is no terror financing, the terrorism will just go away from the world, but because of this terror financing there is a big problem of terrorism around the world. Now how does it works? So say it works to generate the political will among the nations to bring national regulatory reforms. It means it persuades the country to bring changes in its financial law. Okay, fine, and through the laws made by that country itself. Okay, and who evaluates that country? That suppose there is a country X, and now who is going to evaluate this country, that whether its national regulation for money laundering and terror financing is up to the mark or not? So it is reviewed by member countries or peer reviews. Okay, member countries और peer reviews of फाइनेंशियल एक्शन टास्क फोर्स. कोई बाहर का एजेंसी नहीं करता है, जो मेंबर कंट्रीज हैं FATF में वही स्टडी करके दे रिकमेंड दैट वेदर द प्रेजेंट रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क इज इनफ टू टैकल द money laundering and terror financing or not. Then where is the headquarter? The headquarter is located in Paris. But the more interesting thing which you must be seeing in news is about the list. There are two types of list, black list and grey list. And often आप लोग सोचते होंगे कि अगर कंट्री ब्लैक लिस्ट में है तो उसके साथ क्या होगा, और अगर कंट्री ग्रे लिस्ट में है तो उसके साथ क्या होगा. ओके, सो हम अब देखते हैं कि अगर कंट्री ब्लैक लिस्ट में है तो उसके साथ क्या होगा. सो द FATF ब्लैक लिस्ट, इसको हम OECD ब्लैक लिस्ट भी कहते हैं. द कंट्री विच आर नॉन कोऑपरेटिव और नॉन कंप्लायंस. So it is a list of those countries which are non-cooperative in the global effort to combat money laundering and financing of terrorism. It means they are not taking enough step to stop the money laundering and terror financing. They are directly financing the terror. इसमें इस वक्त by 2021 we have two countries in blacklist. One is Iran, second is North Korea. These two countries are not complying with the standards of Financial Action Task Force and hence they have been put in blacklist. Now coming to the grey list. What is grey list? So it is also known as OECD grey list. यहाँ पे country के ऊपर sanction नहीं लगेगा. For example, see if any country is put in blacklist, so the international banks, multinational banks, international banks, they can refuse to give money or to get into transaction or to do any transaction with these countries. ओके, बट इफ एनी कंट्री इज पुट इन ग्रे लिस्ट तो उसके ऊपर कोई सैंक्शन नहीं लगा है, बट उसके ऊपर मॉनिटरिंग बढ़ जाती है. ओके, सो इफ इट इज अ लिस्ट ऑफ दोज कंट्रीज विच आर पुट अंडर इंक्रीज्ड मॉनिटरिंग. ओके, मॉनिटरिंग उनकी बढ़ जाती है. एंड द रिस्पेक्टिव कंट्री, फॉर एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान इज इन ग्रे लिस्ट, तो पाकिस्तान का मॉनिटरिंग बढ़ चुका है. ओके, द पीयर रिव्यू ऑफ पाकिस्तान इज नाउ बीइंग डन मोर रिगरसली एंड पाकिस्तान हैज टू कमिट दैट बाय व्हाट टाइम इट विल eliminate this problem of money laundering and terror financing in a fixed period of time. So the respective country must quickly resolve the regulatory deficiencies. उसको नया लॉ पास करना पड़ेगा. ओके, उसको नए मैकेनिज्म्स तैयार करने पड़ेंगे कि ताकि मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग और टेरर फाइनेंसिंग ना हो सके. ओके, नाउ राइट नाउ देयर आर 15 कंट्रीज इन FATF ग्रे लिस्ट. हमारे नेबरहुड में, इंडिया के नेबरहुड में 2 कंट्री हैं इसके अंदर. One is Pakistan and one is Myanmar. Okay, so I have also included Myanmar because normally अगर क्वेश्चन आ गया तो हमको लगेगा कि नहीं सिर्फ पाकिस्तान है, but no, along with Pakistan we have Myanmar also. Now coming to the Competition Commission of India, this body is always in news if there is some problem in the market. If any company is trying to dominate the market, it is the Competition Commission of India which has a role to avoid, to prohibit the monopoly of any company in the market. और अभी गूगल के साथ कुछ ऐसा ही हुआ है. ओके, सो लेट्स रीड अबाउट द कॉम्पिटिशन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया फर्स्ट. सो इट इज़ द स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी एस्टेब्लिश्ड अंडर द कॉम्पिटिशन एक्ट 2002. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. ओके, कॉम्पिटिशन एक्ट 2002. नाउ इट वॉज सेटअप बेस्ड ऑन द रिकमेंडेशन ऑफ राघवन कमेटी. बेस्ड ऑन द रिकमेंडेशन ऑफ राघवन कमेटी. ये सेकेंड इंफॉर्मेशन मैंने आपको दे दिया, ये भी इंपॉर्टेंट है. अब व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ दिस कमीशन? सो सी, द कमीशन अंडर दिस एक्ट प्रोहिबिट्स एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्रीमेंट्स. एंटी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्रीमेंट्स मीन्स कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल कॉम्पिटिशन इज गुड, ओके, बट मोनोपोली इज नॉट गुड. व्हाट इज मोनोपोली? if one company is in a particular trade, for example take the case of cellular phones. Suppose there is only one company प्रोवाइडिंग सेलुलर सर्विसेज इन इंडिया. ओके, तो वो डोमिनेट कर सकती है मार्केट को, वो जो चाहे वो प्राइस सेट कर सकती है बिकॉज देयर इज़ नो कॉम्पिटिशन. बट सपोज देयर आर 2-3 प्लेयर्स इन दिस communication field. So what happens then? There is a healthy competition because if any company tries to increase the tariff, then people will switch to other company. Okay, so this is having dominance of only one company in the market is an anti-competitive practice. Okay, then abuse of dominant position. Abuse of dominant position means suppose कोई company अकेली है उस field में. For example, take the example of extraction of natural gas, and if only one company is there which is extracting and supplying the natural gas. Okay, तो वो जो price चाहे वो fix कर सकती है, लोगों को मजबूरी में देना पड़ेगा. That is called as abuse of dominant position. And then the commission regulates acquisition, acquiring of control and merger and acquisition by enterprises. कभी कभी ये भी हो सकता है कि there is one big company and it is trying to buy all the company. Okay, so the Competition Commission of India will look that whether this merger and acquisition will lead to dominance of any one company in the field or not. अगर वो dominance की तरफ जाएगा तो वो merger and acquisition Competition Commission of India रोक देगी. Okay, fine. Now what is the issue of Competition Commission of India going on with Google? So Google has come up with a new concept called as TADA. What is TADA? It is a television app distribution agreement. Okay, so whosoever is manufacturing the smart TVs called as original equipment manufacturers, Google is asking them to sign this TADA. Once this original equipment manufacturer they sign the agreement, that TADA with Google, fine, then they have to compulsorily pre-install entire Google applications in their smart TV. Okay, so what will happen with that? This original equipment manufacturer they won't have any choice to install some other functions which is not manufactured or which is not built by Google. तो इससे क्या होगा? इससे क्या होगा कि गूगल का जो प्रेजेंस है जो आज 60% है वो 60% से 100% हो जाएगा. वाई? बिकॉज अब हर टीवी में सिर्फ गूगल है, गूगल के ही एप्लीकेशन है, नो अदर एप्लीकेशंस. ओके, सो गूगल विल बिकम अ डोमिनेंट प्लेयर. फ्यूचर में फिर गूगल प्राइस को डिक्टेट कर सकता है. ओके, एंड देयर इज नो वन टू चैलेंज द गूगल. गॉट इट? सो इट इज अगेंस्ट द competitive spirit of capitalism. So according to CCI, what is CCI is saying, Competition Commission of India, that this agreement, TARA, will not allow the smart TV manufacturers to pick and choose any app which they want, and it will lead to unfair conditions on the manufacturers of OEMs under the Competition Act 2002. एक क्वेश्चन लेते हैं यहाँ पे, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है, that which of the following act was replaced by the Competition Act 2002? A is the Maintenance of Internal Security Act 1971, the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969, Companies Act 1956, Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act 2002. E, none of the above. बहुत इजी है, आंसर देखते हैं इसका. आंसर इज बी, मोनोपोलीज एंड ट्रेड रिस्ट्रिक्टिव प्रैक्टिसेस एक्ट 1969. ओके, सो व्हेन इंडिया गॉट इंडिपेंडेंट, ओके, सो we passed Monopolies and Trade Restrictive Practices Act 1969, but there was an abuse of this act, and this act led to, आपने इसका नाम भी बहुत सुना होगा, बहुत ज़्यादा, लाइसेंस राज. लाइसेंस राज, इसको लाइसेंस राज क्यों कहते थे? क्योंकि सपोज इफ़ यू हैव अ कंपनी एंड यू वांट टू प्रोड्यूस 100 यूनिट्स ऑफ शर्ट, 100 units of shirts, then you had to take the permission from the government to produce 100 units of shirts. ओके, इसीलिए इसको कोटा राज, परमिट राज, बहुत नाम से बुलाते हैं, बिकॉज यू नीडेड अ परमिट और लाइसेंस फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट टू मैन्युफैक्चर अ सर्टन अमाउंट ऑफ गुड्स इन द मार्केट. क्यों? अंडर दिस एक्ट, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट का उस वक्त थिंकिंग क्या था, दैट इफ समबडी इज प्रोड्यूसिंग मोर, सेलिंग मोर, then automatically that person can occupy the dominant position in the market. Fine. So government wanted to avoid that, but after 1991 there was a change in the economic philosophy of India. Okay, we came little to the capitalism side, हम थोड़ा सा अपने इकोनॉमी को ओपन किए. तो हमारे लिए ये जो एक्ट था, मोनोपोलीज एंड ट्रेड रिस्ट्रिक्टिव एक्ट 1969, now it was the obsolete act. We needed a new act which does not restrict any trade practices, okay, but enables the fair competition in the market. Okay, so we came up with the new act, the Competition Act 2002, which replaced the Monopolies and Trade Restrictive Practices Act 1969. Okay, now Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. ठीक है, पहले इसके बारे में हम पढ़ लेते हैं, फिर हम डिस्कस करेंगे इसको डिटेल में. It is a Eurasian Economic, Political and Security Alliance. Eurasian, okay. जब हम यूरेशियन बोलते हैं तो हम किस रीजन की बात करते हैं? When we are talking about Eurasian, so we are talking about Central Asia. We are talking about Central Asia. Okay, Central Asia, China. Okay, fine. These regions are called as Eurasian, lying between Asia and Europe. Fine. So see, the countries which are coming over here is Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. Okay, Turkmenistan इसका member नहीं है, but Turkmenistan comes under the Central Asia. Along with that, we have some other regional bodies, other regional powers, which is China, Russia, India, and Pakistan. They are also members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. India joined Shanghai Cooperation Organization in 2017 only. Okay, in Astana in Kazakhstan. इसका हेडक्वार्टर कहाँ पे है? इसका हेडक्वार्टर है in Beijing in China. Who is the current Secretary General? Vladimir Norov. What is the official language? Chinese and Russian are the official language of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Okay, so Shanghai Cooperation Organization कभी भी आएगा, so please remember Central Asia, that we are talking about Central Asia. Okay, Central Asia. Central Asia में कौन कौन सी कंट्रीज आएंगी? उज्बेकिस्तान, किर्गिस्तान, काजाकिस्तान, ताजिकिस्तान and one more, Turkmenistan. Now this is the question, it is from current affairs. The 16th meeting of the Security Council Secretaries of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was held at ए दुशानबे ताजिकिस्तान, अशगाबाद तुर्कमेनिस्तान, ताशकंद उज्बेकिस्तान, बिश्केक किर्गिस्तान और नन ऑफ द अबव। हम आंसर की तरफ चलते हैं। द आंसर इज दुशानबे इन ताजिकिस्तान। So, the 16th meeting of the Security Council Secretaries of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was held at Dushanbe in Tajikistan. And who is the current chairman of Shanghai Cooperation Organization for 2021? ये क्वेश्चन आपको एग्जाम में भी पूछ सकता है। It is Tajikistan. It is Tajikistan. One more question is important from our exam point of view, that who is the president of Tajikistan? The president of Tajikistan is Emomali Rahmon. Emomali Rahmon. Okay, now what was discussed here in the 16th meeting of the Security Council Secretaries of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization? तो मैं आपको थोड़ा सा बैकग्राउंड देता हूँ। The US force is withdrawing from Afghanistan by September 11, 2021. It has been declared. Then, since the US has declared its withdrawal, आपने न्यूज़ में भी पढ़ा होगा कि the Taliban attack in Afghanistan has arise. Okay, it has risen. फिर से बढ़ गया है अटैक। ओके, सो दिस इज लीडिंग टू द instability in politics and society. First thing. Second, Taliban, if Taliban is destabilizing the politics, तो अगर जितना ज़्यादा पॉलिटिक्स डिस्टेबल होगा, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर डिस्टेबल होगा, उतना ही ज़्यादा टेररिस्ट ग्रुप्स आगे बढ़ेंगे। फॉर एग्जांपल अल-कायदा। Now if you will see that Afghanistan is very close to Pakistan, India and Central Asia. So there is a fear that if there is no stability in Afghanistan, then the terrorism can engulf, okay, the terrorism पूरे सेंट्रल एशिया में बढ़ सकता है। okay, आज एक अफगानिस्तान में टेररिज्म है, उसकी वजह से बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है साउथ एशिया रीजन में। अगर पूरे सेंट्रल एशिया में बढ़ जाएगा तो सबको प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा। रशिया को प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, चाइना को प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, यूरोप को प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान को तो होगा ही होगा। okay, so they are collectively trying to control the terrorism in this region. Okay, fine, got it. So see, the issues were related to international and regional security, countering the terrorism, extremism and radicalism, then countering illicit trafficking, okay, illicit trafficking of drugs and Afghanistan. Okay, illicit trafficking of drugs and Afghanistan, these things were discussed. From India, who participated in this meeting? Our NSA Ajit Doval, National Security Advisor of India, Ajit Doval, he participated in the meeting. Okay, Ajit Doval. So now before I move next, that why Central Asia is important. Okay, that why Central Asia is important for India. So this is very good question, that why India should be interested in Central Asia. So for example, say Central Asia is a very good source of energy. Is a very good source of energy. Okay, especially natural gas. Okay, got it. Now India requires power. India is a power hungry country. Okay, to fuel our growth, to have a double-digit growth, India needs a energy supply. Okay, but we cannot depend on Gulf countries only for our energy supply. India wants to diversify the energy supply. So that's why India is interested in Central Asia. Got it? And India has already planned a pipeline, okay, from Turkmenistan to Afghanistan to Pakistan to India, gas pipeline. This is also called as Tapi pipeline. It is also called as Tapi pipeline. ये pipeline अभी तक बनी नहीं है, but when this pipeline will be operational, it can solve a very great deal of India's energy problem. Okay, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline. So this is one of the major reason that why India is interested in Central Asia. So just imagine that अगर वहाँ पे terrorism फैल गया, so what will happen, that this project cannot go further. So there will be India's loss. Second is India does not want terrorism to take root in Central Asia. Okay, because India's border is very close to Central Asia. If there is a terrorism in Central Asia, so क्या पे होगा, वहाँ पे आप देखेंगे कि इंडिया में का भी डेमोग्राफी कुछ ऐसा है कि यहाँ पे भी the terrorism can influence lot of people over here, and it can lead to wolf-lone attack in India also. Okay, so that's why India does not want the terrorism to spread in Central Asia, because India itself has a very fragile borders. Okay, now who among the following has emerged as the biggest philanthropist globally in the last century as per the list of top 50 givers prepared by Harun Report एंड एडेलगिव फाउंडेशन? मुझे लगता है कि आपको इसका आंसर पता होगा. आंसर की तरफ चलते हैं. द आंसर इज बी, जमशेदजी टाटा. नाउ जमशेदजी टाटा वाज डिक्लेयर्ड एज द बिगेस्ट फिलैंथ्रोपिस्ट ग्लोबली. एक चीज़ का ध्यान रखना, इन द लास्ट सेंचुरी, ऑफ द लास्ट सेंचुरी, नॉट दिस सेंचुरी, लास्ट सेंचुरी. ओके, एज पर द लिस्ट ऑफ टॉप 50 गिवर्स प्रिपेयर्ड बाय हरून रिपोर्ट एंड एडेलगिव फाउंडेशन. ठीक है ना, इसमें देखिए कोई फॉरेन नाम नहीं है, जैसे जमशेदजी टाटा. नाउ हु वाज जमशेदजी टाटा? सो जमशेदजी नुसरवानजी टाटा, ही वाज द फाउंडर ऑफ द टाटा ग्रुप. ही इज द फाउंडर ऑफ द टाटा ग्रुप एंड ही एस्टेब्लिश्ड टाटा स्टील कंपनी. ओके, टाटा आयरन एंड स्टील कंपनी, वी कॉल इट फेमसली कॉल्ड एज टिस्को, टाटा आयरन एंड स्टील कंपनी. And he also established the city of Jamshedpur in Jharkhand. So can you see, this Jamshed is coming from his name, and he is regarded as the father of the Indian industry. Indian modernization में, for example, if I say industrial modernization of India, okay, Britishers were not interested in industrial modernization of India, but people like Jamshedji Tata, they are the initiator, or you can say the father of the Indian industry. It was they started the industrial modernization of India. Now the next is the new e-commerce rule, which was in news recently. So the consumer protection e-commerce rule 2020, okay, the draft has been prepared under the Consumer Protection Act 2019. Confused मत होइएगा, there are two Consumer Protection Act. One is of 1986, the next is of 2019. The 1986 Consumer Protection Act has replaced the 1986 Act. Now what are the new rules which are coming for the e-commerce? Okay, e-commerce matlab, for example, we do many transactions through Amazon, Flipkart, okay, Myntra, eBay, got it? And you must have observed over there that there are too many sales going on, there are too many flash sales going on. So what happens with this is that the steep discount offered by this sale, okay, it is dangerous to the brick and mortar shops. Fine, India वैसे ही second wave के through the growth process in India has slowed, and if the online shopping goes for back to back discount or deep discount, so nobody is going to buy from the shop nearby in the neighborhood. So what will happen now, that the growth recovery of India will be slowed further. First thing. Second, there are a lot of issues related to customer, okay, which is not resolved under the policies of e-commerce platforms. So government want to rectify these two things. So to rectify, the government has come that the flash sales and back-to-back sales are banned. Then each company will have fallback liability. Fallback liability का मतलब, for example, if I go on Amazon or Flipkart, वहाँ पे buyer लिखा होता है, that from whom I am buying. But suppose the product becomes faulty, okay, so it is the ownership of the supplier. But this new rule is saying that it is not only the ownership of supplier, it is also the ownership of platform from where the consumer has bought the item. That is called as fallback liability. That now the e-commerce platform cannot say that it is the problem of the buyer, okay, we are just an aggregator. No, now it will be the e-commerce platform will be part of this liability, fallback liability. The third is that if you type something, okay, you will see that if I want to buy something and I want to type that who is giving me what rate, so automatically either it will be one or two company which will be coming predominantly in my search. So that is sometimes what happens, that in order to do that, the companies, they manipulate the search results and indexes in the internet. So such manipulating of search results or indexes is restricted now. Fine. Then sometimes what happens, that suppose I search something on Amazon. After that, if I am opening my internet, I will find many recommendations related to that coming into my account. Okay, so what happens, that sometimes this company, they give the personal information of the customer to some other company. So making available customers information without consent of the consumer is now prohibited. The next is that suppose there is an Indian company which is manufacturing a good quality cloth in India itself. But what happens, that sometimes the customers, they don't get that opportunity to see the good Indian brands which have come up in recent past. So now every company, it has been made compulsory for every company to provide the domestic alternatives of imported products. For example, if I want to buy imported shoe, fine, but if there is an Indian company which is making a shoe, okay, which is of best quality, okay, so it is now the obligation of the e-commerce platform to show in my result that product also, okay. And then it has been made mandatory for all e-commerce platform to join National Consumer Helpline, which is 14404, okay, so that if anybody has complained, okay, the complaint can be filed over here and the complaint of the consumer can be processed. Now the question, Black Sea separates, it was in the news. Black Sea separates which of the two continents? Europe and Asia, Asia and Australia, North America and South America, Asia and Africa, and none of the above. So the correct answer is Europe and Asia. So see, Black Sea is the marginal sea of the Atlantic Ocean which separates the Europe and Asia. It was in news recently. Why? Because Russia had fired a warning shots and bomb to obstruct the path of British ship, okay, British ship Defender, which is Royal Navy's HMS Defender, okay. Now what is the problem with Black Sea? Why Black Sea in the news? Now if you will see the Black Sea, in north you have Russia, then here you have Ukraine, and then here you have East Europe, and then here you have Central Asia, okay, Central Asia. Now what Russia is trying to do, Russia is trying to declare its hegemony in Black Sea, its dominance in Black Sea, okay, and this is creating a tension between Russia and East European countries and Ukraine, okay, fine, got it. So there is a geopolitical issue related to Black Sea which is going on, fine. So Russia does not allow any other country to control the Black Sea because Russia feels endangered if some other country's warship is present in Black Sea, and that's why Russia fired the warning shots and dropped bombs, okay. Now before I end, again I want to remind you that you can enroll to our 2-year and 1-year course by calling us at 9971 444 054 or by visiting us at our website lawentranceindia.com. You can go to the description box, sign for 15 days free trial by filling the form. In our description box, please find the link of the Telegram. Please join us at Telegram to get access to our the daily practice questions related to the subjects for CLAT 2022 and 23. Thank you.